Let's talk ideas. A Coloradan's idea to survive getting stranded in the backcountry.
All right, we're going to build a snow cave.
Colorado Republicans' idea to change health care. It'll impact a few counties in particular.
Let's just start with this red and blue map.
An idea that's altering the smell of northern Colorado.
Greeley definitely has less odoriferous situations than it did in the past.
And a man who wants to change your idea of service animals.
As soon as I put the collar on, she stays right by me.
Gives you some idea of what we'll discuss next. On a day that Denver hit 62 degrees, last thing anyone's thinking about is the cold. The kind of cold that can kill. A skier who survived 2 nights lost and stranded in the cold is sharing a story of survival that we rarely get to hear.
It's going to be 27:43.
In a place where people grab lunch and the latest on what's happening in the high country.
I read the article and was like, wow, this is kind of weird.
Today's news isn't just a headline.
Yeah, it's pretty odd.
Snow caves likely saved lost skiers.
I got frostbite really bad.
It's Kelsey Malin's story.
It was absolutely terrifying. I mean, there were quite a few instances where I didn't think we were going to make it out alive.
Kelsey and a friend, both ski instructors, were skiing Monarch Mountain late last month when they found some untouched powder.
I think it was about 3:30 when we realized how screwed we were.
They ended up spending the next 2 nights in the backcountry.
Panic, definitely panic. I'd already slipped into a creek. This foot was completely soaked. No food, no water. Like, all right, we're going to build a snow cave.
The headline's for real. Snow caves likely saved lost skiers.
So the first night we had enough to put our feet straight out. So that second night, the snow cave we stayed in was just enough for both of us to be lying in fetal position.
While their igloo helped keep them alive, it could not prevent the frostbite.
I can't feel any of it.
When Kelsey couldn't go on,
I mean, I'm here, so.
She told her friend to leave her behind and go find help.
Don't turn around, don't look back, don't come back until you found help.
He did.
And did you want a large or regular drink?
It's how Kelsey ended up as the headline come to life.
They said they might take part of my big toes, possibly a pinky toe.
But that's her story.
But
she's alive.
Fine by me. I'm alive.
There is disagreement over whether Kelsey and her friend were skiing out of bounds at Monarch. They say they never went under any ropes, but Monarch told us they think that they had exited the ski area. There's an investigation going on. When we talk about Obamacare in Colorado and the state's troubled health care exchange, we can lose sight of the fact that Obamacare covered more new Coloradans on Medicaid than it did on the exchange, and that Medicaid expansion could disappear depending on how President Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress follow through on their pledge to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Politics guy Brandon Rittiman takes a look at the impact of repeal and whether it matches up with how Coloradans actually voted.
Before we get into the politics, I just want to explain what happened to Medicaid in Colorado. We allowed more parents to join Medicaid, and for the first time, we allowed non-parents, adults without children, to get on Medicaid in Colorado. And we expanded the amount of money you can make up to 138% of the federal poverty level, and that's really what allowed more people to qualify and join Medicaid. And as part of that deal under Obamacare, the federal government picks up most of the tab. So now to get into the politics side, let's just start with this red and blue map. You should recognize it from election night. Red are Donald Trump counties, blue are Hillary Clinton counties. This is just the result on how they went. And if we drill down on just the 20 counties that had the most expansion of Medicaid per capita, you can see this is what you're left with. It's a lot of rural counties, and you can see predominantly 14 of those 20 counties are red counties. Now, a supporter of Obamacare could point at this and say, hey, look at all these people in all these red counties. They voted against their own self-interest. And first of all, that's oversimplifying why people vote for president in the first place. But the funny thing is, if I narrow this down even more, flips that story entirely on its head. Let's just look at the top 5 counties for Medicaid expansion. You can see they're all in rural Colorado, but 4 out of the 5 of them, they're blue, not red. Fun thing about statistics, you can use them to tell pretty much whatever story you want. For Next, I'm Brandon Rittiman.
Today, the U.S. Senate split 50-50 on President Trump's pick for Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. And so did Colorado senators. Republican Cory Gardner in favor, Democrat Michael Bennet opposed. DeVos was confirmed when Vice President Mike Pence broke the tie. Senator Bennet spoke during Democrats' talkathon last night. They were trying to peel off one more Republican to block DeVos.
Our next question comes from Carlin Kennedy, who wants to know the difference between a talkathon and a filibuster. Excellent question. The filibusters of old in the Senate were used to delay action on something. Now, there's no formal definition of either term when it comes to Senate rules, but the talkathons we often see now don't actually delay or block Senate action. In this case, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos's confirmation. The talkathons are performed primarily to make a point and to get on television, which Democrats did late into the night before that formal vote, which they did not delay and they did not block. Senator Gardner faced a lot of pressure from constituents in Colorado to vote against DeVos. Some claimed Gardner couldn't make an impartial decision because DeVos was a campaign contributor. I asked NBC's senior political editor Mark Murray about that. One thing that we are hearing with this DeVos nomination and all the pressure that was on Colorado's Republican Senator Cory Gardner is this idea that the senators who received campaign contributions from that very wealthy family were somehow bought and sold. There certainly is a lot more wealth accumulated in the Trump cabinet than we've seen in previous administrations, but it's not unheard of that we would have cabinet nominees who were politically active before. Do you recall that standard ever being applied in the past, that senators who had received a donation should recuse themselves?
No, and here are the things about political donations. They happen. Almost all politicians receive them. And yes, sometimes they actually end up impacting how you're going to vote one way or another. I mean, that's one of the realities of modern American politics. But to me, the bigger force was just the partisan nature, that Republicans like Cory Gardner weren't going to buck the President of the United States over something this early in a presidency, over an education secretary. Now, could this come back to bite Senator Gardner in the future? Perhaps, but I think the bigger danger was actually trying to buck his party's president right now and have the president's supporters angry at the incumbent Republican senator.
Colorado State Patrol held a news conference today, got in front of a microphone and talked about the importance of moving over for emergency vehicles. They did talk a lot, when really we found 140 characters got the message across just fine.
CSP posted a photo of a face we now know very well. We shouldn't know Trooper Cody Donahue's face. We wouldn't, if it hadn't been for the driver who didn't move over. The driver who police say didn't follow the law. Along with that picture of Trooper Donahue, 3 simple sentences that said more than an entire news conference did. Why the move over law exists. We are no longer asking. Do it. We pull over naturally when we hear sirens approaching. Why can't we make it the same habit to just move over a lane while we pass emergency vehicles? Or if we can't pull over, just slow down. For the longest time, police were just asking us to do it. But this face and this post are proof that just asking doesn't work.
Surveys have shown a lot of people just aren't aware of this law, so we can't say it enough. It's been on the books here for 12 years. If you don't move over, the ticket is a minimum of $169 and 4 points off your license, Kyle.
Thank you, Steve. Removing the graffiti from the murals along Cherry Creek Trail will not be as easy as we had hoped when we first told you that they had been hit by taggers. This happened near Lincoln and then again near 12th Avenue. The city says it's in the process of making insurance claims, and since the murals didn't have a protective coating, the original artists are going to have to come back in and paint over the tags with the original art, and that could take weeks or even months to fix. So, Denver police have those light-up signs posted around town reminding people to lock their cars and remove their valuables. Well, even if you do both, it is no guarantee that your car will be safe. Welcome to Denver, people. Proof is parked at St. Paul and 8th Avenue. Someone took the tires and the rims, just left the car sitting there on blocks. The owner told DPD that the Jeep's alarm was set, but it didn't go off. Beware of some stealthy and real gentle-handed thieves out there. Tonight's edition of What Do You Say takes us to a town where even the residents are split on the pronunciation. A bunch of you lost your shirt over a small detail in a story here last night. And speaking of small,
She's been with me ever since she was a little baby.
the emotional backstory behind a horse spotted by a Next viewer in, of all places, Costco.
The most Colorado thing we saw last night was a couple fending off unwanted buyers for their Subaru, and a whole bunch of you pointed out that the actual most Colorado thing was the shirt that the guy was wearing in the story. Jonathan's shirt, yes, is covered in little sushis. Enough of you wrote in wondering that we decided to do some real journalism today and find out where Jonathan got the shirt. In Boulder, naturally, a store called Ragstock, which told us those shirts have since sold out online.
60s in February. What's not to love about that? Well, we need the moisture here in Denver. And guess what? We have a chance for that overnight tonight. Chance for rain after a day with highs way above the average of 45. Now, that front coming in tonight means a cooler day tomorrow. And the wind blowing over 30 miles per hour around Broomfield, Centennial, Arvada, and up toward the Boulder areas. Well, that wind will continue overnight, blowing in some snow and a storm that's going to bring heavy wind and snow to the high country tomorrow. The big story, though, in the southeast, Louisiana hit hard by severe weather today, at least 3 tornadoes. And on Twitter, many of the pictures coming in of the devastation in that area tonight. And we'll be following up on 9 News at 9 and 10. Progressive weather pattern. One system moves through, another one on the way. Beautiful weather conditions shaping up for the Front Range and Eastern Plains. And in the high country, knee-deep powder for you just in time for the weekend. But overnight tonight, a little rain, not snow, in Denver. And lows comfortable above freezing for many areas. Temperatures tomorrow above average, not as warm as today, but we'll take mid-50s this time of year. If you think that looks great, check out Thursday and Friday. Temperatures close to 70 degrees by the end of the week, ahead of a storm that may actually bring some light accumulating snow by Sunday morning. That'd be something we haven't seen in a while. The sunrise this morning was spectacular. Christopher Love, we love your Boulder picture.
Kathy, thanks. Story started simply enough. A next viewer who noticed a service horse at work. Jerry Clayton wrote to us saying, service dogs are a dime a dozen. This you don't see every day. It looked to us like a story. And photojournalist Mike Grady found it at the Guthrie Miniature Horse Ranch in Pine.
Just one day, I think I got a nerve problem with my nervous system. And that's how I started shaking real bad. My name is Larry M. Guthrie. I own 4 miniature horses. This is Fancy Dancer, Chunky Monkey, Glitter Bug, and Patty Cake. They're called service horses. I just come down and have a lot of patience with them, work with them every day, put the collars on them, put the halters on them, and walk with them, work with them, make sure they do the commands that I teach them. They help me a lot. Like say if I go to a big department store and I have a hard time walking, I just hold on to their halter and walk with them, and they walk with me and they stabilize me when I'm walking. I make sure that they will not potty in the store before I actually take them into the store. I think some people are offended by it, but what difference does it matter? Everybody has different service animals. I've seen some people have cats as service animals, or pigs, or goats. I think a service horse is a welcome to the world. We can't go bye-bye. I personally, if anything happens to them, I would really be lost without them. They mean a lot to me. Yeah.
You ever pass somebody and wonder what's their story? That is Mark Guthrie's story. If you see him around town with a service horse at his side, it's either Patty Cake or Fancy Dancer. We're told Chunky Monkey is still working on her skills. Not quite ready for prime time, you know? Greeley has an announcement that doesn't stink at all. Merriam-Webster's adding about 1,000 new words to the dictionary. Steve Steger takes him for a test drive. And how do you pronounce the town, San Luis Valley, the one that's home to 3 Barrels Brewing? What do you say? Next. The smell of money is detected less often in Greeley these days. You know, the city's had an odor hotline ever since 1997, and it is coming off its slowest year. Greeley city employees are dispatched to check out reports of all variety of stank using a fancy device called the Nasal Ranger. The first year, the hotline got 650 odor complaints. 20 years later, a new record low, only 4 odor complaints in the city of Greeley in 2016. The city says there have been improvements in odor generators, as in the agricultural industries that fuel the economy there are finding new ways of winning without turning noses.
You know, Greeley definitely has less odoriferous situations than it did in the past. And that's the result of a lot of hard work from a lot of good people. One of our key industries, JBS, is a meat packing company. They've applied new technology over the years in the form of scrubbers and stacks and chemical additives and that type of thing that has made a real difference. People who have been here for a while certainly know that things have changed from, say, the 1980s when there used to be feedlots just right outside of town.
Greeley is quick to point out, and quite accurately, that the strongest odors, the smell of money ones, tend to waft in from outside city limits. All right, now, what do you say? What do you say we settle another Colorado pronunciation debate? What do you say when you say the name of a town near Alamosa that may or may not have a silent E at the end? Kevin Campbell wants us to tell his son that he's wrong. Patty and Russ from Littleton want to know the answer, too. So we called up Town Hall and asked the town administrator, who was born and raised in that town.
The way we pronounce it is Del Norte. Some of the older generation of the locals here in town do say Del Norte, but mostly the younger generation have always just called it Del Norte.
So there you have it. It is Del Norte, unless you ask one of the local old-timers. So really, what did we settle here? We will sort out your arguments over how to pronounce this or that in Colorado. You can get our attention anytime with the hashtag HeyNext, or you can email next@9news.com. So we're big fans of words around here and how stacking a couple of them together can make you think or make you laugh. And Merriam-Webster just added 1,000 more words. A bunch of millennial-sounding words, if you ask me. Our resident millennial, Steve Steger, he speaks their language.
What's the best way to talk about the new words in the dictionary? Perhaps a listicle, which is one of them. Just make sure to keep it clean. You wouldn't want it to be NSFW, you know, not safe for work. Read something like that, your boss would give you the old side eye, which is not a great time to photobomb her. Several new words in food this year might have you wondering if that arancini recipe calls for EVOO, you know, extra virgin olive oil. It's as delicious as ketchup on scrambled eggs. Humble brag here for a second. Next is one of the first local news programs that people binge watch. We like to geek out about things like that here. A lot of that might make you facepalm at home, like you're probably doing right now. Feel free to throw some shade. You know we read all your comments.
Shade is welcome around here. When we asked you to send us photos of signs, we did not expect a photo of a sign. That's next. It's a sign, and it's kind of a throwback, not because of the sign itself, but rather how it was sent to us. A snapshot of a sign mailed in by Tom Quinlan up in Conifer. A picture of a sign on the side of US 285 below Windy Point. You see it there, Mountain High Chapel, with a secondary sign reading Open Sundays. Why, yes, I suppose that the chapel would be open on Sundays. Next is open to seeing your signs, all the ones that make you do a double take. You can send them to us any way you like. You know all the techno-savvy ways. We mention those daily. To reach us old school, our address is 500 East Spear Boulevard, Denver, Colorado, 80203. We finish with your feedback, as always. Neil Walters, down in the area Del Norte, appreciated the fact that we gave people a little pronunciation help. And he also appreciated that I mentioned Three Barrel Brewery. Try their sours if you're into that kind of thing. They're fantastic. Aaron writes in, the mini horse story was just what I needed today. Thank you. Isn't it illuminating to take a step into somebody else's world and see things from their perspective once in a while? And Henry rightfully points out that the plural of sushi is sushi. I think I said that the plural was tiny little sushis or something like that, which is clearly incorrect, and we will endeavor to do much better next time.